Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Bhavani. I work as lead developer in test in one of the software firms in London. So today I'm going to show you how we can automate performance testing for microservices using Gatling tool. Gatling uses Scala DSL, and it doesn't mean that you need to know each and everything that is there in Scala. Gatling DSL is very easy to use and all. So before we go into the automation details, I'm going to show you what API I'm going to use for my performance testing. And this tutorial is very basic, and I'm going to show you how you can profile the load and what dependencies you need, and actual formation of HTTP request builder and scenario builder and so on. So let me share my screen. Okay, so hope you're able to see my screen. So this is the API I have chosen. This API is from Rapid API, and anyone who registers to their site have access to this API. And this endpoint is basically a get call where you need two headers. One is Rapid API host and Rapid API key. And so you can see the key value pairs there. So once I hit the endpoint, once I make a get call to the endpoint, I get back like the list of countries: Afghanistan, India, China, and all those things. So let's see how we can automate this. And I'm going to create a brand new maven project and take it from there. So let me open my IntelliJ. It's opening now. So create a new project. And so I'm going to call it as Gatling base first framework. So we have created the Gatling framework, actually Maven project, and so this is going to have, because this is a Maven project, this is going to have pom.xml. So you need to have Gatling dependencies to be able to automate your tests. So let me get those dependencies. So what I need is just two dependencies. One is the Gatling high charts dependency, and I'm using the latest version, which is 3.4.1. Another is build profile, where you would use a Gatling Maven plugin. Actually, when you execute Maven space Gatling test, this is the plugin that gets used to run your simulations. So you can see here param is empty. So this param is actually your simulation class name. So once we have that in our framework, then we can try to include our class name, correct class name. So let's proceed with the framework. So here it is saying Java. I'm going to refactor that to Scala. I'm just renaming Java to Scala. Refactor and create a basic file. Create a file saying get countries, because my API is for getting the countries. So name it as get countries simulation. And oh no, I don't. Okay, refactor, rename. You need to have the extension as Scala. So Scala. So once you rename it to Scala, you can see no Scala SDK in module. It's warning us. So click on Setup Scala SDK. And I have Scala SDK installed on my IntelliJ already. But if you don't have, just click on Create and Install. So I'm using Scala SDK 2.12.10. Click on OK. And once you have the simulation class, so let's start working on the class. Get country simulation extends simulation. Before I can do that, let me try to do maven clean install. Let me comment on that. So because we have put all new dependencies, Gatling high charts and plugin, we need to do maven clean install before we can actually try to make use of those dependencies. So I have done maven clean install, and I'll try to reload my project. And just to be safe, just do the click on the refresh button as well there on the maven section. So once you have that, try to enable it, and you need to import the dependencies. So press alt enter, you'll see import button, click on that and import core pre-def simulation. So once you import that, you need, the first thing you need for API is headers, right? So you have two headers here, Rapid API host and Rapid API key. So let's try to create a map with those headers, so that we could use those headers in our HTTP protocol. So that's Rapid API host, that is the key, and the value is REST API countries, and next header is that, oh, and so that's your headers. I'm going to remove this static text. So now you need to so your headers are defined in this map, and now you need to define your HTTP protocol. So normally HTTP protocol is all about your base URL and your headers, right? So HTTP. So for all Gatling classes, try to import io.gatling.core.predef._ and import io.gatling.http.predef._. Okay, so now you have http dot base, sorry, I think it's base URL, and your base URL is basically your host, including HTTP or HTTPS based on your API. So that's your base URI. So that has to be a string. So that's your base URI, and your headers, you can define your headers here. So your headers are stored in this map. So just provide that map there. And before we go into the actual setup, you need a scenario where you need to, you need a scenario for which you want to simulate the load for. So let's try to define that scenario before we go into the actual load profile setup. So first of all, let us create a package which is called as com.company name dot project name dot simulations, and I want my simulation to be in that package. Okay, so that's the simulation. Now create another package where your scenarios will reside. com.company name dot project name dot simulations. Oh no, sorry, scenarios. So you have scenarios. Now create a new Scala class called get countries scenario. So in this, you basically need to define your HTTP request builder and scenario builder. So let's define get countries method. So this is your HTTP request builder. So you just need to specify the your return type for your method, and this starts with HTTP call. So for every Gatling class, as I mentioned, please try to import this io.gatling.core.predef _, and import io.gatling.core, sorry, http.predef._. So once you have that, name your HTTP call as get countries. It can be anything. It's up to you what you prefer. and your call is actually a get call, and your path is slash all, because you have defined your host and all in your HTTP protocol, so you don't need to redo that again and again. So dot so you need to check in this tutorial. I'm just going to check the status as 200. In the next tutorial, we can see how we can assert on the JSON paths and actual Gatling assertions as well. So you have defined your HTTP request builder now. Now let's try to define your actual scenario. So I'm going to define it as get country scenario, and the return type for this will be scenario builder. Scenario builder. And so this starts with scenario, and your scenario name is same as what you have specified in your HTTP request builder. Dot. Here you are actually trying to execute your HTTP request in this scenario builder. So you're just forming your execution. So you are executing your get countries HTTP call, and make sure you try to flush cookies jar, because wherever you use authorization headers or any kind of cookies, there is a chance that you get 401s back if you don't flush the cookies. So make sure you flush the cookies properly after each and every call. So now you are done with your scenario. That's how it is, and that's how easy it is. And so now let's come back to our simulation class, and let's try to do set up our load profile. So in that setup, you basically need to call your scenario. So for calling your scenario, let's initiate a variable and call it as get countries scenario. Okay. So you have instantiated your scenario, and let's try to get that scenario. And in that scenario, your scenario builder name is actually get countries scenario. On that, you can try to inject your load profile. So initially, there are many other DSL methods that are available for Gatling, but I'm using constant concurrent users as 20, and I'm not going to take much of your time. So I just want to run this simulation for only 30 seconds. Oh no, 30 seconds. So seconds won't be available until you import Scala concurrent duration. Scala.concurrent.duration. So you have your simulation for 30 seconds. So here you are saying you need 20 constant concurrent users, but you have no idea how many number of requests those 20 concurrent users are going to send. So what you need to do is you need to throttle your load. Means this is your framework having full control over number of requests that it can send to the application. So now you are throttling the load that is generated by 20 concurrent users. So initially, always in the initial few seconds, you always need to have very less number of requests, because your application takes some time to warm up and load all of its classes. So the first call you make to the application, that's when all the classes gets loaded related to that particular endpoint only. So for each and every endpoint that you want to formulate the load profile, just have only like one or two requests in the initial few seconds, and then ramp up your load as per your requirements. So I'm just saying jump to RPs 2, and then I want to hold this load for 10 seconds. And then next thing I want to do is I want to jump to 10 requests per second and hold there for 20 seconds. So that is my load profile. You can also define assertions for your Gatling simulation. So for that, all you need to do is you need to use details from Gatling DSL, and your scenario name is get countries. So you need to use the same name here in the details section. So this is basically checking like your endpoint's response time is within the range. I'm just showing you one assertion for now. Response time dot max dot between 0 comma 2. So you're just asserting that your get country's uh, endpoint response time is always between max response time is always between 0 and 2. So we have finished our test here, and there is another thing we are missing is resources folder, and we need to have our logback hyphen test.xml, otherwise test wouldn't run. So let's create a no, you need to create a folder, actually directory called resources. Under that you need to have a file called logback hyphen test.xml. So in this, I'm going to copy the existing XML that we have already. So that's our logback XML. Anyway, don't worry about the contents. I'm going to check in into my GitHub so you can access the file from there. So now that we have everything ready and our simulation is also there, and make sure you specify your parameter name as your simulation class name. So your simulation actually resides in this package. So let's get that package as your parameter. Dot your simulation name is get country simulation. So now you can use maven space gatling colon test to execute your test, actually. I mean your simulation. Let's see what happens. So it's running the test now. Oh, I forgot one thing. So in the simulation, once you are done with the simulation, you need to make sure you um, you have some protocols against that your setup. So you have your protocol defined already. So your protocols needs to be specified for your injection load profile, for injecting load profile. So make sure that is there. If you forget, that's what your simulation is going to fail, saying that no base URL is defined, because your base URL is defined in your protocol. So now let's rerun the test now. And one thing to mention about, sorry, yo. One thing to mention about the logback XML is, so if some of the requests are failing and you want to know why, then change this level from debug to trace. Then you will be able to see what's going on with your application, and what is the response you're getting back, and what is the response code you're getting back, what response request headers you're specifying, and what is actually going wrong. You can see if you change this to trace, just in case if your requests are failing. So our simulation is getting executed. Looks like one of the, we had few failures, illegal state, executor not accepting task. Okay, didn't report any failures. Let's look at the report and understand more about what's going on with your test. So my project is in workspace experiment, and my framework name is Gatling base first framework. So target Gatling 1437. This must be the new one. Okay, so the test seems to be successful. You don't have any course here. So this is basically the Gatling report that's generated after running your test. So that you can find it in your target directory. under Gatling, and you'll have your timestamp against it. So you want the latest report, so 1337 and 1336. So you need 1337 one. So that's where if you open index.html, open it from your files. That's when you'll see the complete report. So that's how you can access your report, and this is the global information about all the endpoints that you have uh, tried to load test as part of your profile. So now you have you can see one of your simulation name is get countries, and you don't have any cause. Co means like something went wrong with that request. So you made 1341 requests, but all of them are successful. But why your test has failed can be found in global. So mm, you said max response time should not exceed 2 seconds, but it has exceeded 2 seconds. That's the reason it has failed. And you can see the how much max it has took your application. So max is 3.2 seconds, mean is 1.4 seconds. So the reason the test has failed is because your application has exceeded the response time of 3.2 seconds. And the assertion requirements are basically based on your NFRs, non-functional requirements. So 2 seconds is not necessarily the ideal one, because if you are trying to upload a file, and if it is like 50 meg or something, it's definitely going to take time. So um, so this max is basically based upon your requirements and non-functional requirements. Hope you enjoyed this session and the Gatling initial tutorial. So maybe in my next tutorials I can show you in-depth assertions about the JSON path and how you can use the feeders and all, and also sometimes depending on the application, your request timeouts, connection timeouts has to be tweaked a bit. So those can be adjusted in gatling.conf. So I'm going to show all those things, not all those things, like one by one in my next tutorials that I do. Okay, thanks for listening to this tutorial. Let's catch up next with next tutorial. Bye for now.